Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode 156. Hope you all enjoyed the last week of July 2020. Many of us want to write off that first half of the year already, or at least since March onward. But hey, why not try to make it up with an extraordinary second half of 2020? You know, the optimist in me, the glass half full kind of side of me is saying, let's do this. Let's seriously crush the curve and move on with the economy so it doesn't take too much of a hit. Anyhow, thank you for tuning into the program this week. We do have a stellar Tech It Out. First off, we're going to learn about a new portable battery called the P3. It's a battery booster or power bank, if you will, that can do some things that yours can't. After that, and speaking of new gear, we'll be joined by G Technology to hear about a new G Drive SSD, a solid state drive, and discuss the importance of regular backups. And finally, on the topic of protection, we're going to chat with Tony Anscombe. He's a leading global cybersecurity expert and a spokesperson for ESET Internet Security. And we're going to chat about whether we're better off or worse off since COVID-19 when it comes to scams and viruses and ransomware and all that nasty stuff. You know, Tony is super smart, but he's the kind of guy that you'd love to sit down and have a beer with. Really, really cool dude. All of that is coming up and more on this week's new Tech It Out, powered by ASUS, which I'll tell you more about shortly, but let's kick off the show. Not all power banks are created equal. If you're in the market for a new portable battery pack that can juice up your devices, we're now going to learn about a new one that can charge your things wirelessly on compatible devices and has some other cool features as well. To talk with us about Pandora Portable Power, or P-Cubed for short, we're joined on the line by Victor Chor. He's the co-founder of the company Infinicore, the makers of the P-Cubed. Welcome to the show, Victor.
Hi, Mark. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So why don't we start off very high level, Vic? What is Pandora Portable Power, or P-Cubed, all about?
So the P-Cubed is Infinicore's flagship product. At face value, it's very utilitarian. It's got all the functions that you need for a external battery, and it's got a nice slim form factor. And as you kind of start to use it, you'll realize, whoa, this includes way more than all the usual ones. So it keeps all your devices powered. Wires are optional because of the wireless charging functionality. And so there's no need for any clunkiness or messiness.
All right, so we'll get to what it looks like in a moment because this is radio, so I'd like you to explain it. But usually with these kinds of products, we're talking about something that ranges in size from like about the size of a deck of cards all the way up to a larger sort of little brick. And then the idea is that you would plug your smartphone into it, whether you're at home or not, and it juices up your devices. But yours also has wireless Qi support. So if you've got AirPods or an Android phone that has wireless charging, you just lay it on top. That's one of the key differentiators between the P-Cubed and most other power banks out there. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. It sports a 10-watt charger for wireless charging, so it can get you juiced up pretty easily with no wires at all.
All right. So if your devices are not wireless, there is a port or two to plug in.
Yep. There's two USB 2.0 ports, one that supports fast charging and the other one that's normal, what everybody knows. And then there's a third port that's USB-C that's 18 watts.
Oh, cool. All right. So talking about what makes this unique is that your power bank can also charge up some compatible laptops as well. So if you have a USB-C port on the side of your laptop with charging, like I do with my Asus laptop, then it would work. I would just plug it into the power bank.
Yes, it's going to charge your laptop. Now, the batteries on laptops are relatively large. So this, the P-Cube sports a 8,000 milliamp battery, which is good for roughly 2.5 charges on an iPhone X, for example. Now, if you plug it into the wall, you'll have unlimited power source. So you plug the P-Cube into the wall, jack it into your laptop, your USB-C compatible laptop, and then it'll get all the charge from there without taking any of the battery from the P-Cube itself. It's called
Pass-through?
It's called pass-through charging, yes.
Yeah. Okay. But even if you're not near a wall, if you have 5% battery life on your MacBook or your Asus laptop, as I have my ZenBook, I can plug it into the P Cubed. And even though I may not get a full charge out of it, it could keep me topped up for a bit, right?
Sure. Yeah, it'll keep you going.
Just to clarify, and if you plug the P Cubed into the wall, you can then plug anything into the P Cube and it just like passes through. So it's going to charge up your battery pack, but also charge up your devices as well.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. And for the geeks out there, this is an 8,000 milliamp battery pack. I've seen smaller ones, I've seen larger ones. So how big is the P Cubed?
It fits in your pocket. It's 2.5 by 2.5, like a box shape. And then the thickness of it is 1 inch. Maybe a deck of cards, 1.5 of a deck of cards as far as thickness goes, and then a square.
Got it. Okay, cool. And is it black, like most power bricks?
We have 2 colors. One is midnight black, and so that's like a matte. It's a nice soft feel. And the other one is a polar white. It also has a nice sleek feel to it.
Let's chat about some of the other features that makes the P Cubed unique.
If you compare side by side with any external battery at face value, it's going to look pretty much the same. But once you start to use it, you'll realize, wow, this is great because of the plug-and-play functionality of it. Now, we packed a lot of things in this device. First thing being, you can charge your devices, smartphones, laptops, and wirelessly as well. Now, there's several things other wireless chargers don't have, where you plug this directly into the wall, so you don't need to use a cable to charge the P3. And the included plug is an AC adapter, so that's used in North America. But we also include in the packaging 2 global adapters. So if you throw the EU adapter on there, when you go to Europe, for example, now this is all you need. There's an Australian cable. There's also one for Asia. The other thing is there are 4 non-slip paddings. They're made out of rubber on the bottom, and there's also one on the top. So the functionality is so that your phone doesn't slip off and just fall off the table while it's charging. It seems insignificant, but it's huge. One last tidbit. We have a QR code on the back of all of our products, and that allows you to easily contact us when you have any issues. And it shows us that you are a customer, depending on which QR code you're scanning.
Cool. We are chatting with Victor Chor. He is the co-founder of a company called Infinicore. Their flagship product is a portable battery pack. It's called the Pandora Portable Power, or P Cubed for short. How do you know how much power is left on the P Cubed? Because obviously with all of these kinds of devices, when the battery pack needs charging, you have to plug that into the wall for a bit.
Yeah, usually what you see on the market is you have 4 dots.
Yeah.
And we found that putting the actual number there would be very helpful. So we have an LED screen on the front, and if you press the little power button, it lights up, and then it shows you from 0 to 100% how much battery is in your P Cubed.
I wanted to ask you, Vic, about the press release that I read that said that the P Cubed can charge devices up wirelessly up to 2 times faster than other wireless chargers. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Sure. So on the market now, wireless charging is still in the stages of adoption. And you'll see a lot of 5 watts, 7.5 watts. Our wireless charger is 10 watts. So it'll charge up your phone maybe 2 hours or so. It'll give you a complete charge versus the competitors with 5 watt. You're going to be sitting there forever.
All right. And then finally, let's talk price. How much does the P Cubed cost? And is it available now or coming soon?
You can find the P Cubed on our website at infinicore.com. We also have outlets like Amazon and Walmart that we sell at. The MSRP is $59.99.
All right, so the manufactured suggested retail price is $59. So it may be a little lower, maybe a little bit higher when you buy it online or at retail. But I understand, Vic, that you also wanted to offer a discount code to our listeners, which is very generous of you. Thank you. So what would our listeners need to do if they wanted to go to the Infinicore website, which is infinacore.com? What would they need to type in the checkout area in order to get a discount?
Yeah, so if you use coupon code RADIO, you'll get 10% off. I would like to mention also that for right now, we're running a promotion on Amazon. So if you go in and type in Infinicore, INIFACORE, you'll see all of our products, and you can potentially get a discount there right now, depending on when you're hearing this.
Okay.
Otherwise, use the coupon code RADIO, and you'll get that discount.
All right. So the website, one more time, is infinicore.com. That's INFINACORE.com. You can get a discount by adding the coupon code RADIO in the checkout area. Thank you so much for that, Victor. And it sounds like a great product, and can't wait to get my hands on it myself.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
So we heard how that P-Cubed can even juice up laptops with USB Type-C, and that includes Asus ZenBooks, which is what I use. This show is powered by Asus, and Asus does create technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. And that includes its award-winning laptops like its ZenBook family, which you can learn about more at asus.com/US/radio. That's ASUS.com. That's the ZenBook laptop family from Asus. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out when we return and learn about G Drive SSDs for backing up your important files. Stay with us.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. One of the most common emails I receive from listeners of this show is about backup. I often hear of a story about, a computer that was damaged or lost or stolen, and the person didn't proactively back up their files, on a regular basis. And so they've lost everything, including irreplaceable family photos and home movies. It can be devastating, of course. And so we're going to learn now about a new durable and portable drive, the G Drive Mobile SSD, especially for those who love performance. We're going to discuss who it's for and what separates it from other storage solutions. Joining us on the line to chat is Christina Garza, Senior Manager of Global Product Marketing at G Technology. Welcome back to the show, Christina.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. So before we talk about the G Drive Mobile SSD, please tell us a bit about G Technology as a brand, kind of high level, if you will. It's an offshoot of Western Digital, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we're one of the main sub-brands from Western Digital. G Technology makes professional-grade products that are intended to keep up with creative professionals, creative enthusiasts, and business professionals that have high-value content and are doing a lot of heavy workloads on the storage itself. Mm-hmm. And so anywhere from people who are filmmakers, photographers, doing research and need to make sure that they have the best drives and most reliable drives for their high-value content. That's what we build our products with, the intention of making sure we can keep up and enable the high demands that they face.
Got it. So for me, I create a lot of content for social media. I'm a YouTuber and so on. So I'm out in the field. I'm shooting 4K video with clear audio, and then I'm cutting it. I'm editing it even on the fly, and then I'm often uploading it. So would this be ideal for someone like me?
Absolutely. Especially when you're moving, we need to make sure that we're putting the right products in your hands that are going to withstand the rigor of that travel. Putting product in a backpack, throwing it in your luggage, making sure that it's going to withstand anything that you can throw at it to make sure your content is ultimately safe when you get back to studio.
Awesome. And then, of course, like any external storage, it's also ideal for making a duplicate of what's on your internal hard drive, just in case something happens, like I touched on in the introduction. I get those heartbreaking stories all the time. So this is an SSD rather than an HDD or hard disk drive. Tell us what solid state brings to the table.
So solid state has a few different advantages, one of them being that it's much more durable than hard drives. So hard drives, as you know, are spinning disks. So solid state drives are exactly what is in the name. It's a solid state, so it doesn't have those moving parts, which makes it much more durable. It's shock resistant. It can take a bit more bumps and knocks here and there that you may have as, again, you're moving stuff around and traveling yourself. So that's one of the main advantages. But really, from a production perspective and productivity perspective, they're much, much faster than hard drives. And so being able to read and write to the device much faster is going to dramatically decrease the amount of time you're spending offloading or on transferring data. And so our goal is to make sure you have as little downtime as possible. You get your work done faster, which makes you more productive, and you can move on to the next task. So SSDs help us provide that for our customers.
And like you were saying earlier, Christina, it's not just for backing up your important files, but you can work right off this drive, right? So you can do editing, for example, video editing or retouching, what have you, right off of this G Drive mobile SSD as it's plugged into your laptop instead of just using it as a backup solution.
That's absolutely correct. They're so fast. A lot of photographers, especially with the G Drive mobile SSD, will edit right off of the drive, and video makers for that matter. And it also allows them to free up that space on their computer and not take up so much of that memory. They're able to edit right off of the drive and use it as a scratch disk, if you will, to alleviate some of that pressure from your laptop and your computer so that you don't use that memory. You're actually using just the drive, and you free up the space on your computer as well if you don't want to use it as a pure backup. But being able to also back up your footage and images very, very quickly onto these drives, again, gets you moving to your next task while also ultimately backing up that footage. I said something earlier that just resonates so much with those horror stories of people losing their data, and it's just imperative to continue pushing the notion that your computer is not a backup. So just because you offloaded your footage onto the computer drive, it's not a backup. So please have a second, third backup if you can to make sure you're ultimately secured with your backups.
Right, before it's too late. All right, so to recap, an SSD or solid-state drive has several benefits over an HDD or hard disk drive. There's no spinning platter and all that. There's no moving parts, so it's more durable. It's smaller, lighter, faster to read and write content off the drive. And then one thing we haven't yet touched on is that it's also better on the laptop battery because there is no moving parts. So you're actually going to get, be able to squeeze a lot more performance out of an SSD than you would a hard drive. And a laptop that has SSD built in instead of a hard drive is also better on the battery. So you're going to get a couple of hours of extra performance on average. So now let's pivot and talk about the G Drive mobile SSD. What makes this cool?
Oh, I love talking about this product. It's probably one of my favorite products in our entire portfolio. First of all, it's a USB-C interface, so it'll work with a number of different laptops. USB 3.1 Gen 1 if you want the specific interface that it works with, which makes it compatible with many things, including the iPad Pro, Chromebooks, MacBooks, PCs. And not only is this drive really fast, it hits about 540 megabytes per second, but it's ultra rugged. And I love talking about the rugged features of this because it's just what gives people that ultimate sense of security when they're using this product and traveling and really hitting it hard as they move through productions. It's got IP67, water dust resistant, drop resistant, crush resistant. I think you can roll 1,000 pounds over this guy and it's not going to crush.
All right, when we return, more about the G Drive SSD. Stay with us.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
We're chatting with Christina Garza, Senior Manager of Global Product Marketing at G Technology, an offshoot of WD or Western Digital. Before the break, Christina, you were telling us how this G Drive SSD is extremely rugged. We were talking through all the specs, so this is something that you definitely want if you're out in the field, right?
Absolutely. It basically is built to survive the rigors of travel, the rigors of being out on production sets, being used as a shuttle drive, mailed, taken from place to place, thrown in bags. It is built to make sure your content is going to get back to your studio. Another thing that makes this SSD apart from some of our other SSDs in the market and competitors is that we have done an incredible job of virtually eliminating throttling. So you'll see when you pick this product up, and hopefully you go take a look at it, it's got this really bright, vibrant blue interior. You can see it coming through. And that's actually there, other than looking really cool, it's there for a reason. It's an aluminum core that we wrap around the internal SSD. And what it does is pull the heat away from the internal drive, because as you know, the SSDs tend to throttle when they get hot, and that happens to protect the SSD from overheating. But when you throttle, your transfer time slows down. And so our engineers have worked tirelessly to figure out how to virtually eliminate it, and they've done such an incredible job. And the benefit to the end user is, let's say you're transferring a 50 gig, 500 gig file, right? And it's going to take quite a bit of time to get that transferred, or even bigger than that. It's not going to throttle and slow down along that transfer. So compared to some of the competitors, your transfer time of that file is going to happen much faster than if another product is actually throttling. So again, going back to my whole point, at G Technology, our goal is to make your productions faster, to get your job done faster.
So this new drive, this G Drive Mobile SSD, is rugged, it's fast, it's small. Let's talk capacity. What are the options out there?
We start with 500 gigabytes. We go up to 1 terabyte and to 2 terabytes.
Okay, so up to 2 terabytes, or about 2,000 gigs. So that's a lot in an SSD. I know in a hard drive that's, pretty standard, but I guess that's one of the small trade-offs. The gap is closing, but I guess a hard drive, one of the benefits is that I know I have a WD drive that's like 7 terabytes, but we're not quite there yet with SSD, but up to 2 terabytes is enough for most people out there.
Absolutely. We have found, 2 terabyte tends to be our sweet spot. It's enough to really spend a lot of months filling it up, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing film, yes, 2 terabytes you can fill up really quickly. If you're doing photography, it'll take a bit to fill up the 2 terabyte images with images.
Okay. Now, you mentioned it was a USB Type-C connection to your laptop, like I have with mine. Can you confirm that it works with both PCs and Macs?
It does, yes.
Okay, what about Chromebooks?
Yeah, so as long as you have a compatible Chromebook with USB-C connectors, ports, if you will, and like I said before, it's the USB 3.1 Gen 1, so as long as the compatibility is there, it absolutely works with Chromebooks. Okay.
What if you have a slightly older laptop that's a full-size USB, not USB-C, which is the smaller and thinner slot? Can you use this drive with an adapter or something?
Yeah, actually, and in our packaging, we provide a second cable that is a USB-C to USB-A, and that's to help accommodate that older laptop. So you'll have the USB-C port and connector will happen with the drive, and then a USB-A connector for the laptop.
Oh,
so we do accommodate that within our packaging.
Before we wrap up and talk price and where we can pick this up, either online or at retail, because this is radio, can you tell us about what it looks like?
Yes, I love that question. It's about 3 inches tall, about 2 inches wide, maybe about 4 inches tall.
So like a deck of cards, like a deck of playing cards?
I think it would be half the width of a deck of playing cards.
Okay.
It's a pretty small little device, yeah. It's got, like I said, USB-C port on the top of the drive. It's a black finish. It's really soft and almost velvety to the touch, but it's a good grip. You can get your hand around this so that if you're traveling with it or passing it off, it's not going to slip out of your hand.
And even if it did, it's rugged enough to withstand a fall, I'm sure. But not a great idea.
That's a great point.
If you can avoid it, yeah, it's probably best. All right, and then you said the capacity starts at about 500 gigabytes. How much does that cost to start the G Drive Mobile SSD? And what's the best website to learn more or even order it?
So it starts at $139.95 for the 500 gig, and it goes up to 2 terabytes, as you said. We offer it at gtechnology.com. We have some promotions running all the time. Our retail partners will as well. Amazon, Best Buy, B&H, fantastic places to pick up this drive. Please check it out at their online site.
Okay, and then again, gtechnology.com if you want to check it out for yourself. G-Drive Mobile SSD. Our guest has been Christina Garza. Always a pleasure chatting with you, Christina. Hope the rest of your summer goes well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it.
Hey, welcome back to Tech It Out. This show is powered by ASUS. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops, desktops, monitors, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and much, much more. They even have a gaming division called ROG, or Republic of Gamers. If you're into PC gaming, no doubt you've heard of that brand. You can check out what they've got going on at asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. For the minute and a half we have left before the next break, I thought I'd share a couple of my tech tips of the day that I write for social media. If you're on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, you could follow me at Mark Saltzman. That's Mark with a C, Saltzman with a Z. So here's a couple of email examples. One is that if you have accidentally emailed somebody before you were done the message, this has happened to me before, both on a phone and on a PC, it's embarrassing. You have to write back right away and say, sorry, I hit sent too fast, da-da-da-da. And if it's a professional email, you feel like a tool, right? So here's a tip. Write the email first and then put the recipient's email address in the to field. So do it last. Write the message first, put in a subject line if you like, but don't write the name of the person who you're sending it to. Don't type that out until you're ready to hit send, and that way you will minimize the odds of sending something before you're done. Another email tip is for iPhone and iPad users. It's a hidden mouse cursor. So if you're writing a message and then you're reviewing it and you realize that you spelled something wrong or you forgot a word earlier in the email, press down on the space bar, the virtual space bar, and you will see that a little mouse cursor will appear, and then you can move that around with your fingertip on the screen, let go at the spot you want to place in an extra word or an extra letter, and voila, that is a hidden mouse cursor built into the iPhone keyboard that you may or may not have known about. So those are the kinds of tech tips of the day that I write on social media, often accompanied by a video. If you like those, please feel free to follow me. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out. Stay with us.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Tech It Out. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the program one of my favorite guests, Tony Anscombe. He's a globally recognized cybersecurity expert and ambassador for ESET as well. Tony also contributes blog posts and videos to welivesecurity.com, which makes sense of the various risks out there for consumers and businesses. And he's joining us today to share some info on how to survive a cyber attack. Timely. Welcome back to the program, Tony. Always good to chat with you.
Hey, great to be here again, Mark.
I say timely because Garmin just got hit pretty hard. We'll get to that in a moment. But before we talk about how to survive a cyber attack, please just give us a bit of an ESET 101, if you will, a refresher on what the company and its products are all about.
Okay, well, ESET's a global industry-leading IT security software and services business. It's actually HQ'd out of Slovakia in Europe. We've been in business for about 30 years, and we're the number one business anti-malware company in Europe. We do endpoint, mobile security, encryption, two-factor authentication, and as you'd expect, we've got R&D centers around the world with offices all around the world as well. And the one thing I'd say about our products, actually, Mark, is they're really unobtrusive and have minimal impact, which is super important in this day and age.
Even as a consumer, so I use ESET all the time, I don't even know that it's there. And I'm a gamer, and this is really important to me that it's got a very light footprint. There have been other cybersecurity programs that I've installed, and I can noticeably feel that my system has been a bit more sluggish with this software running in the background. So you're absolutely right, Tony, that it's a thin client, as we often say. You don't even know it's there until you want it to flag something and notify you that there's, as you said, malware, which is, of course, short for malicious software or other threats. But it is also for consumers. I know you said it's the number one business grade cybersecurity solution in Europe, but it is also a product for regular folks who have a computer and other devices too. It supports multiple devices, right?
Absolutely. We even have a version for your TV if you have a smart Android TV.
As I do. And it can flag anything suspicious that you may be downloading to your smart TV. But it also works with tablets and Android phones and laptops and desktops and so on and so forth. So when it comes to cybersecurity threats for consumers, Tony, are things better or worse since the start of COVID-19?
Well, unfortunately, cybercrime is a business, and cybercriminals take advantage of every opportunity to monetize their malicious activities. So at the start of the pandemic, we witnessed increased phishing and fraud campaigns purporting to be from the World Health Organizations or companies offering testing or even claiming to develop a vaccine for children, so playing on the emotions. And we saw people offering masks when masks were in short supply and even toilet rolls.
Yeah, we talked about that, I think, back in March or April about these phony phishing scams where they ask you to sign up for free hand sanitizer or free toilet paper or masks, as you said, when in fact they're just trying to steal your personal information for financial gain. It was identity theft, right?
It was, and things have moved on, though. So from those early phishing attacks and fraudulent emails, phishing emails coming from package delivery services. So we've seen a tenfold increase actually since Q1. And that's because, of course, our focus has changed as consumers. We've shifted from desperately seeking information on the virus and the pandemic as it moved around the world to now, we're all online shopping because we want everything delivered to our home and we want to avoid actually going out.
Yep, great point.
So also, Mark, we saw an app being released in Canada. So contact tracing, lots of different governments and states are organising contact tracing apps to try and help with the pandemic and identify infected people when you're in or close to them. We did see a fake contact tracing app released in Canada. So when the Canadian government announced they were going to have one, we saw one appear, a website looked official. So I just want to push out that information there that actually make sure if there is a contact tracing app, make sure you go get it from the reliable and proper source. The particular malicious one that we saw was actually ransomware.
Oh, wow. And that's when your device or your files are held hostage until you pay up some money, usually cryptocurrency. But what about businesses, Tony? Since the start of this pandemic, have businesses also seen a higher or lower number of attacks?
Well, we're seeing a consistent flow of attacks in certain areas, and in other areas, as you would expect, an increase. So, for example, there's something called a remote desktop protocol, which is actually, so it allows you to connect in. It's that remote access home working type solution.
Yeah.
So we are seeing an increase in attacks against RDP, as it's known. So many people are now working remotely.
And their security protocols are probably weaker at home, if they have them at all, than what they would have in an office, a traditional office setting. It's kind of like a double whammy since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. One is we're working more from home where we may not be as secure as in an office setting. And then secondly, these bad guys out there, these bad actors are playing on our fears tied to COVID-19 in order to take advantage of us. We are chatting with Tony Anscombe. He is a global ambassador for ESET, and he is a globally recognized cybersecurity expert and author of several blog posts and videos as well. It could be especially damaging for a business to get hit with an attack, thinking that, your customers' data is at risk. You may not recover from that kind of reputation smear and all that. We saw last week Garmin got hit. I believe it was ransomware. Can you explain what this is and what happened to Garmin allegedly?
Well, allegedly is the right word there because they're still referring to it as an outage. However, I think there's enough information out there in the media for us to reasonably safely say it's probably a ransomware attack. But it is speculation because Garmin are keeping that very tight at the moment. But it appears that a ransomware attack took down part of their infrastructure. But it's been speculated in the press that the ransomware attacker asked for $10 million. Now, of course, what we don't know is whether they've paid or whether they haven't.
Yikes. I'll ask Tony if the rule of thumb is that you should pay for ransomware or never pay when we return on Tech It Out. Stay with us.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We're chatting with Tony Anscombe from ESET Cybersecurity. Before the break, we were talking about Garmin allegedly getting hit last week with a ransomware attack. What's the general rule of thumb, Tony? I've read conflicting sort of advice here. Some companies say it's just worth it to pay and move on. Other cybersecurity experts say never pay when you're facing ransomware.
Well, the problem is you're funding the cybercrime. So if a ransomware attacker comes along and, in fact, let's use the University of San Francisco paid $1.1 million to get a decryptor because they were hit with ransomware recently. But to give the other side, the city of Atlanta 2 years ago had that ransomware attack on their smart city infrastructure, and they didn't pay a ransom of $50,000 that was demanded. And currently, I think the estimate is they've spent $17 million recovering from it.
But even if you do pay, Tony, there's no telling that the bad guys are really going to give you the keys to unlock your data. And then also, if you pay, you may graduate, if you will, to an even more valuable list that circulates on the dark web because, you know, you as you said, you're feeding the system, you're supporting these bad guys and confirming what they're doing works. So you may invite more ransomware in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if they don't come back and attack you, you're funding them to go and attack somebody else. So actually paying the ransom is always wrong. And as you said, you've got no guarantee, actually, that you're going to get a decryptor. We shouldn't be funding cybercrime in this way. You wouldn't fund a drug dealer at the end of your street, would you? So don't fund cybercrime in that way either.
Right. Okay. Good point. All right. So with that in mind, ESET recently published what the company's calling essential steps to surviving a cyber attack, which I think is geared more to businesses. Can you give us the gist of this?
Effective cybersecurity requires you to have a process. So if you're attacked, you need a methodology to follow that process written down up front. And that's what we're talking about with this particular publication, is actually having those phases laid out within the organization. So preparation, detection and analysis, containment, eradication and recovery, and then post-incident activity. So in brief, preparedness is about actually having the security controls, understanding where your assets are and making sure they're secured in the right way. And then detection and analysis should be self-explanatory, but it's the correlation of events so that the incident can be replayed. So at making sure you've got all the log data and that type of thing. And then containment, if something does happen, how do you isolate it? How do you switch off? Do you disconnect? And remember, not everybody disconnects immediately. And in fact, coming back to the Garmin example there, they actually may be collecting evidence, which is maybe why they're not saying too much. But while you're in that phase and collecting evidence, you might want to let the malware play out slightly so you can see where it went, what it damaged, and who it's communicating with. So actually you can go back and resolve the issue. And of course, the final part of that process is the post-mortem, is to come back and learn from it and then feed the preparation again. So it's kind of a circular process. Mm-hmm.
Is there a blog post on We Live Security that gets into this a little bit more, that has this with a little bit more depth for those businesses who are listening right now?
I believe that blog post is actually on ESET.com. I think it's a corporate blog.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Thank you, Tony. And then finally, as consumers, can you give us a few tips to end off with on how to reduce the odds of becoming a victim of cybercrime?
Disconnect completely, live in the woods with a tin hat. Yeah. But no, that's my jesting. The most important thing, obviously, as he said, I'm going to say is have good, strong endpoint security products. Make sure they're up to date, and make sure not only the product's up to date, but the actual product is updating on a regular basis as well. Update everything you own. So every device that's connected in your house, make sure it's patched and has the latest version of software or firmware on it. So webcams, even the infotainment system in your car, do it to the extreme and make sure that those vulnerabilities are patched. Use two-factor authentication everywhere. Yeah, so wherever possible, always use your phone as the second form of authentication, and limit where you share personal information. And the other last thing I'd add, the point 5 in there, Mark, is always be aware, be vigilant.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Tony. And let me plug ESET one last time, ESET.com or ESET.ca in Canada. You can download a trial. You'll love how this software works, and it does protect you and your devices at the same time. So definitely give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose. So that's ESET. Tony Anscombe has been our guest. Always a pleasure chatting with you. I hope you have a good rest of the summer and stay healthy out there. Thanks again.
Likewise, Mark. I look forward to being here again soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Tech It Out, everyone. This program is brought to you by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. ASUS, for those in search of incredible. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. I'm wishing you all a happy and healthy and safe week ahead, and I look forward to catching up with you next weekend on Tech It Out.